stage lights of America's Got Talent glowed brighter than ever that night, but behind the curtain stood a man whose heart was pounding louder than the cheering crowd. His name was Daniel Reyes, a 32-year-old dancer with one leg, and for most of his life, the world had already decided what he could not do. As he waited for his name to be called, memories rushed through his mind like a storm he could not stop. He remembered the small apartment in Texas where he grew up, the cracked mirror in his childhood bedroom where he practiced dance moves alone, and the day everything changed forever. Daniel was just 12 years old when a drunk driver ran a red light and slammed into the car carrying him and his mother home from a dance competition. His mother survived with injuries, but Daniel lost his right leg below the knee. Doctors said he should be grateful to be alive. Friends said he was brave. But no one talked about the dream that died that day, the dream of dancing freely across a stage. For years after the accident, Daniel refused to watch dance shows, refused to listen to music, and refused to step inside a studio. At school, kids whispered behind his back. Some looked at him with pity, others with discomfort. A few were cruel enough to laugh. He learned quickly that society prefers inspiration stories only when they are neat and comfortable, not when they involve pain, anger, and struggle. Daniel was angry at the world, angry at his body, and angry at a future that felt stolen. When his mother finally convinced him to try physical therapy, he treated it like punishment rather than hope. Learning to walk again with a prosthetic leg felt harder than the surgery itself. He fell countless times, bruised his arms, and once even cracked a rib. Each fall reminded him of the stage he believed he would never return to. The twist came when Daniel was 17 and working part-time at a grocery store. One night after closing, a coworker left music playing through the store speakers. The beat echoed through the empty aisles, and without thinking, Daniel's body moved. It was not graceful, and it was not perfect, but it was real. He felt something wake up inside him that he thought was gone forever. That night, he went home, stood in front of his mirror, and tried to dance again. At first, he cried more than he moved. But slowly, painfully, he began to rebuild not just his strength, but his belief. Years passed, and Daniel developed a style that no one had taught him. Traditional dance rules did not always apply to him, so he created his own. He learned how to use his upper body with explosive power, how to turn limitations into rhythm, and how to fall and rise in ways that told a story. Still, rejection followed him everywhere. Dance studios said he was a liability. Competitions told him he did not fit their categories. Online videos he posted received cruel comments mixed with the occasional encouragement. Many nights, he wondered if chasing this dream was selfish, unrealistic, or even foolish. When Daniel first told his mother he wanted to audition for America's Got Talent, she went silent. She was proud of him, but she was also terrified. She had watched him break before, watched disappointment crush him again and again. She asked him if he was ready for the possibility of public rejection, of Simon Cowell's brutal honesty, of millions watching him fail. Daniel answered quietly that he was already living with rejection every day, and at least this way, he would fail trying. Now, standing backstage, Daniel could hear the muffled voice of the announcer introducing the next act. His palms were sweaty, his breathing shallow. He looked down at his prosthetic leg and whispered to himself that this leg did not define him, but it was part of his story. As his name was called, he took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. The applause was polite but uncertain. Some people leaned forward, curious. Others exchanged skeptical glances. The judges smiled, but Simon Cowell's expression was neutral, unreadable. Simon asked Daniel his name and where he was from. Daniel answered clearly, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. When asked about his story, he kept it short. He said he was a dancer, he lost his leg in an accident, and tonight he wanted to show what was possible. Simon raised an eyebrow and asked bluntly if Daniel really believed he could compete at this level. A ripple of tension moved through the audience. Daniel paused, then said something that surprised even himself. He said he did not come to compete with anyone else. He came to compete with the version of himself that once gave up. The music began softly, almost deceptively calm. Daniel started seated on the floor, his movements slow and controlled. Some audience members looked confused. A judge shifted in their seat. Then the beat dropped. Daniel exploded into motion, using the floor, his arms, his core, and his balance in ways that seemed to defy logic. He spun, he slid, he leapt, and yes, he fell, but every fall was intentional, woven into the choreography like punctuation in a sentence. The dance told a story of pain, anger, resilience, and defiance. It was not just about losing a leg. It was about losing control, dignity, and hope, then fighting to reclaim them. Halfway through the performance, something unexpected happened. Daniel removed his prosthetic leg on stage. A gasp swept through the theater. For a moment, there was only silence and raw vulnerability. Then he continued dancing without it, moving with a power that made the absence feel irrelevant. The judges leaned forward. Simon's eyes widened slightly, something rarely seen. The audience was no longer watching a dancer with one leg. They were watching a human being stripped of defenses, refusing to be hidden. As the music reached its peak, Daniel pushed himself upright and executed a final spin, landing with his arms stretched wide, chest heaving, eyes filled with tears he did not bother to hide. The music stopped. For one heartbeat, the room was silent. Then the theater erupted. People jumped to their feet, screaming, clapping, crying. The standing ovation seemed endless. Daniel stood there, overwhelmed, unsure if this was real or another dream he would wake up from. Simon Cowell was the last to speak. He cleared his throat, visibly emotional. He admitted that when Daniel walked out, he did not expect much. He said that honesty mattered. But then Simon paused, looked directly at Daniel, and said he had never been happier to be wrong. He called the performance fearless, original, and deeply moving. One judge said they forgot about the missing leg within seconds. Another said this was not just a performance, it was a statement. The biggest twist came backstage after the show. A producer approached Daniel and told him that his audition clip was already trending online. Millions were watching, sharing, and commenting. Messages poured in from amputees, dancers, veterans, parents, and kids who saw themselves in his struggle. Daniel realized that for the first time, his pain had purpose beyond himself. He was no longer dancing just for a dream. He was dancing for everyone who had been told they were less. As Daniel walked out of the theater that night, golden ticket in hand, he called his mother. She cried so hard she could barely speak. He told her he finally felt whole, not because he regained what he lost, but because he accepted it. His journey on the show was far from over, but one thing was certain. That night, a one-legged dancer shocked Simon Cowell, not because of what he lacked, but because of what he refused to lose.